There are some today who claim that Christianity is to blame for many of the problems we see throughout the world. So, what would life be like if Jesus had never been born?
There are those that often think something like this: if Jesus had never been born, all the maladies of Western civilization would not have occurred. There would have been no crusades, there would have been no burning of witches in Europe and no hanging of witches in Salem. There would have been a lot greater love.
There's a strident voice in our society trying to squelch the Christian influence in the public arena by labeling Christians as racist, women-suppressing, freedom-hating bigots. But is that really the truth?
Let's just take a look at Western history. What's been the greatest force of good? Look at hospitals, look at orphanages. These are driven by Christians. There has been some bad things in the name of Christianity. Let's own that. Jesus said there would be bad wheat among the tares, etc. But Christianity has been the overwhelming, most greatest positive contribution in the history of the world, and we should be proud of that.
Christianity brought compassion into the human world, and that was directly because Jesus said, love your neighbor, and he said, love your enemy. And when we begin to see civilizing influences in the world, we are seeing the fruit of Jesus Christ as we begin to take human nature, which is sometimes utterly dark and violent, and beginning to harness it for good.
The world in which Christ was born was very cruel and brutish. Those living at this time had a much shorter lifespan.
The Romans had a practice of exposure of unwanted infants. So the mother would bear the child and lay it at the father's feet. If he picked it up and liked it and thought they could afford it, they kept it. But if he did not pick it up, the mother would have to place the child in a basket and go outside and set it in the woods or someplace, and it would die. It would be exposed to the elements. The Christian leaders of that day spoke out against exposure. So we have the Christian conscience sticking up for the unborn, the newborn, the infants. The majority of hospitals in America were started by churches. Catholic churches, Presbyterian, Baptist, Lutheran, Seventh-day Adventist, and they did it as a ministry unto the Lord.
Education for the masses was also a Christian development, especially after the Reformation. Education for children and education for adults.
As we look at the roll call of the great schools of America in its founding age, they all have a connection with the church. Harvard, Yale, Brown, Princeton, Dartmouth, and you can just keep on going from there. Education is one of the great byproducts of the Bible. We know that that's true because the Bible insists on education. Go back to the Old Testament. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Teach these things to your children when you rise up, when you go to bed, when you walk along the way. The Bible is a book of instruction and education. The Proverbs are designed for a father teaching a child how to be wise and skillful in living.
Christianity has also had a massive impact on the elevation and advancement of women in society.
Everywhere Christianity has gone, the plight of women and the plight of the defenseless and the plight of the impoverished has been bettered. Everywhere Christianity has gone.
We can see how Jesus treated women. He elevated women. When he spoke to the woman at the well, who was an outcast from her own society, but he treated her with the utmost dignity. Christianity teaches us we are made in the image of God. That's why we value human life. But when you look at countries that don't have the belief system that Jesus gave us, what you see are women are completely mistreated. They're treated as property, and if they bring dishonor on the family, they can be killed. Look at Islamic countries, where if a woman is accused of some improper behavior, that her own family members will kill her.
The idea that we are all equal and that every person is sacred comes out of the Bible. So it's no surprise that Christianity has been the driving force behind the abolition of slavery. William Wilberforce, the man credited for his efforts to end the slave trade in the British Empire, was an ardent Christian.
Wilberforce set himself this goal of abolishing this satanic abomination called the slave trade. Why? Because he became a serious Christian and he understood that if you take the Bible seriously, you know that slavery is a horror, and that if you call yourself a Christian nation, which England did, you are obliged morally, even if it costs you dramatically, you're obliged morally to abolish the slave trade. All of these things come out of the Bible.
We have an understanding as Christians that every human being is someone for whom Jesus Christ died. And as a consequence, each individual worth, male and female, has gone up wherever Christianity has gone. When Christianity became the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, slavery ended.
Those of us in the West today assume certain values, right? We say, we know racism is wrong. For example, right? There is no way to say that racism is wrong unless you go back to the Bible. It is from the God of the Bible that we get all these ideas that every agnostic and atheist today accepts and takes for granted. So there's a tremendous irony there that all of the values of the West, of the liberal West, of the free West, all of those values come out of the Bible.
America would not have the freedoms and liberties that we cherish today if it weren't for the strong Christian influence of our founding fathers.
America has been a beacon of hope, funding, and support around the world. Disaster relief is not coming from Hindus, it's not coming from Buddhists, it's coming from Christians in America. America has been an amazing force for good in the world, and that impulse comes from Christianity. And you have to realize this, no other religion on the face of the earth could have produced America other than Christianity.
It is clear that Western civilization as we know it would be totally unrecognizable if it were not for the birth of Jesus Christ.
If Jesus had never been born, this would be a very dark planet indeed. Jesus Christ is still admitted to be the most influential person that ever lived, and we see it every time we write a date. The calendar reflects King Jesus as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords.